Today, we will be looking at 3 horrifying caving stories that went horribly wrong. The first story in particular is terrifying. The caver's body is put in a situation which is beyond human endurance. As for the last one, it addresses the question we have been asked multiple times: what would happen to someone exploring a cave if an earthquake struck? As always, viewer discretion is advised. This story is one of the most hair-raising, reckless nights you could imagine. A night that left one man trapped and broken, desperately fighting to stay alive. It was December 21, 1997, a chilly evening in Arizona. Brandon Silverhorn, Christopher Reed, Gus Hansen, John Salazar and Jeremy Platt decided to head out to the Safford Shafts, a desolate area also known as Red Knolls. This place wasn't your typical hangout spot. It was a landscape of deep pits 40 to 60 feet down, carved into the hardened bed of what was once an ancient lake. One of the pits was capped by a 4-foot thick layer of rock overlaying 60 feet of silt, a strange place for a late-night adventure. But it was exactly what these young men were looking for. They arrived at around 9 p.m. armed with gasoline and some questionable ideas. You'd think that standing near cliffs towering over a sheer drop would instill a sense of caution. But no, they were drawn to a narrow fissure in the rock, barely a foot square. The plan to turn this fissure into a fiery spectacle. They poured about 4 gallons of gasoline down the crack. 4 gallons, let that sink in. And then came the ignition, a rag soaked in gas, lit and tossed into the abyss. For a moment, there was silence, then chaos. The ground literally blew apart. Fire and debris shot into the air like some hellish geyser. The crack widened in an instant, turning into this gaping hole. The sheer force of the blast hurled 4 of the men backward, leaving them bruised, scraped and disoriented. But Brandon Silverhorn wasn't so lucky. Brandon was standing too close to the edge, peeking down when the explosion hit. His feet gave way from the impact. He rolled over and plummeted into the pit, vanishing into the earth straight down 40 feet into this tilted crevice. The landing was brutal. His leg hit first, and you can imagine the sound, a sickening snap as it broke under him. He slid further into the crevice, his body twisting awkwardly. Rocks and dirt poured in after him, pinning him in place. And then the real horror. A massive slab of rock, 3 feet by 5 feet, slid down and landed on top of it all, burying and sealing him in like a grave. The others scrambled to the edge, yelling his name. Dust and smoke hung heavy in the air, making it impossible to see anything below. Let me paint you the picture. He was wedged in this crevice. His body twisted at an unnatural angle. His head was forced sideways against the rock wall. His broken leg screaming with pain, and the pressure of it all strained his kidneys and abdomen that made every breath painful. That slab of rock, it was like a coffin lid sealing him in. Dust filled the air, choking him, making it nearly impossible to cry out. The sheer panic that gripped the remaining men must have been unbearable. They kept shouting Brandon's name, but there was no response. A self-rescue attempt was beyond their experience and expertise. So knowing the fact they couldn't do anything to get him out, they scrambled to their car and raced back to town to get help. Rescuers arrived within the hour, and when they saw the scene, they knew they were in for a long, dangerous night. The first thing they noticed was that slab of rock covering Brandon. It wasn't just heavy. It was wedged into the crevice like it was part of the earth itself. Hours had passed, and the situation Brandon was in left. A tripod was rigged over the chasm, and the rescuers assessed the scene. The slab of rock sealing Brandon in was massive, and the tilt of the crevice made the rescue even more dangerous. They knew they had to act fast. Brandon's injuries, the cold and the weight of the debris could kill him if they didn't get to him soon. Meanwhile, Brandon was enduring the unimaginable, trapped under layers of rock and dirt. He was broken and battered. A broken leg immobilized him. All their weight was crushing his body, and he was going through excruciating abdominal pain. He could feel something was wrong there. The cold was relentless, leaching the warmth from his body. Hours passed, each one a test of his will to survive. The first task was to remove the massive slab of rock. Rescuers began chiseling away at its edges to loosen it. This was slow gruel work, as every strike of the chisel sent more debris tumbling into the crevice. Once they had enough clearance, they secured a pulley system over the tripod, attaching ropes to the rock. Hooks were driven into the surrounding bedrock to anchor the ropes, and it took the combined strength of 6 men pulling with all their might to lift the slab, inch by inch. Finally, with one last heave, they managed to shift it out of the way. With the slab removed, the digging began. Rescuers carefully worked around branches